So now I have the opportunity to interview my clique. Are you guys ready?
Always.
So I have to, I'm very professional.
We're wearing blazers.
Oh my God, the microphone. I'm so excited.
So, what inspires you to do this work? And we will start with Marty.
It really started with the goal of seeing women in our city in particular who were in the 2IC role being passed over for CEO. And I really wanted to see them have that opportunity to be the CEO and the ED. And what that turned into was I believe that leaderships needs to mirror the communities that they serve. And leadership has to reflect all the backgrounds, experiences, and genders. And to make that equitable, everybody needs to be compensated for their work equally. That was sort of my piece.
Lisa?
What I saw that inspired me to get involved with this was that all too often, women were cutting each other down. And I truly believe that we have a responsibility to lift each other up versus holding each other back. And that means in our words, our actions, how we lead, who we bring up with us.
I just want to say that there's lots of goals I've had over the time of my career, but having Sarah use that microphone in an actual session might be the peak of my goal setting. So why do I do this work? I think, I've spent so much time, and I've talked about this quite a bit in sessions that I've been doing over the last little while. Just I've spent so much time in part of my career trying to mold myself into this idea of what I thought it meant to be professional, or what it meant to be to fit this sort of idea of what it meant to succeed in our sector. And I just really realized that had done for me some harm to me personally, and I think it's doing harm to us all. I think embracing all of our uniqueness, all of our who we are as people is a really wonderful way for everyone to be successful. So I just really want women, non-binary, LGBTQ plus, BIPOC, everybody who has something to bring to the table to feel like they can walk into a space and be embraced for who they are. I certainly am coming from a certain perspective and a background, and I acknowledge my privilege, but I think that when we lift each other up and embrace each other for who we really are, life's just better. It's just a better place to be. And it sounds a bit hokey, but really, truly, I think all the research out there shows that the more diverse your team is, the more diverse your organization is, the more diverse opinions and perspectives you have at the table, the more successful you are. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So
I'm
Sarah,
gonna have to go with Sorry, Marty.
And Sarah?
Yes, that's exactly it. I don't have a mic. Sarah, what's your perspective on this?
So I agree with what Liz was saying about being unique. I mean, I have built this network, my clique, who allows me to come on to a conference. I know none of them are going to be messaging me saying, I can't believe you brought that microphone, that your pandemic purchase.
I'm so excited that you
to this session. So, I think that I do the work because I want to see women be themselves. And that includes, this, but also when we're told that we're bossy, that, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, the things that I think I heard a lot growing up that I've had to overcome myself in my profession. I want other women to know that that's okay. That's the leadership skills. So I want women to be recognized for the work that they're doing, but also the women who can do the work know that they can do the work and step into that work is why.
Can I just add one more thing too? Like, I think to make it really clear for our audience, when we talk about accountability, it doesn't, we have to be careful. There's a perspective that being nice is also part of this. And it's not that we can't be nice to each other, but being accountable means sometimes having those difficult conversations that are uncomfortable. But I think we really all challenge each other and push each other to think differently all the time. I'm often grateful for when my 3 friends across the screen here will say to me, you know, you said this, but is it really a good thing, or was that really the right thing to like for you to think about that? And I'm always grateful for that because I need people to keep me honest. And it's such a good thing not to have a echo chamber that you're operating in where it's constantly people just patting you on the back and telling you that that was a great idea. I think that's part of the accountability piece that I appreciate the most. So
Yeah, and it's
So
like I said, accountability doesn't need to be something, you don't need to love it, but having that gratitude for it and appreciating that it's there as a resource. You don't always need to get feedback or a comment or called on something that you should be called on and think, boy, that felt good, but it should feel effective.
agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
So when we're talking about our click, I mean, again, it was the networking that got us here. And I'll stop using the word click, like I stopped my microphone. So I know that some of us here think of ourselves as introverts, not me. So I'd like to know, do you think of yourself as an introvert, an extrovert, or do you think there's an in-between there? And what is your best networking tip? So I'm an extrovert, so getting me on a stage, giving me a mic is where I'm the most comfortable, but I'm not really comfortable going up to 2 people who are talking at an event and introducing myself. So, I do find one of my tips is I usually do a lap around the room, and it's just me trying to get comfortable to see where people, who's talking, who might be giving me like the nod, like, oh, there's that girl maybe, and just who I can go in and meet. So I always do a lap.
I would
Okay,
say
Liz or Lisa, yeah.
I would say I'm an introverted extrovert. So I sure do love a mic, but I also have, and it's something that I work with all the time, a good deal of angst about those networking situations. In fact, I one of the first ones that I went to early in my career at Brightwood, I thought I was going to have to just call, well, like, what's the number for 911? I thought I was going to drop dead at the door because I didn't know a soul that would be there, and I didn't know where the cheese table or the bar was. So for me, although I am an extroverted person, it takes practice and discipline to warm myself up for these and to go into it being myself and not feeling that I need to go into it spraying value and sprinkling value all over the place. So I really do have to temper my expectations sometimes and just kind of roll with it. And like Sarah said, sometimes it's just doing that lap and getting your bearings and taking a deep breath before you feel like you've got to be your best self.
Liz?
Yeah, I'm also extroverted, but do after a networking event or anything where I'm doing any kind of public speaking, need to have my downtime. So I just like to make sure that I've created space for myself after to decompress. But actual networking, my preference is usually one-on-one or in small groups. I'm not always great with big rooms of people. So what I've really enjoyed ironically about the pandemic is that as much as everyone zoomed out, is that I've had a chance to really get to know people a little bit more intimately over the last little while because we can't have giant groups of people. Yeah, so for me it's been beneficial. But I think everyone has to figure out what's going to work for them and make that happen for them if they can. I'm actually also a really big fan of just if I see someone who's saying something interesting on Twitter or social or LinkedIn, I'll reach out to them and ask them if they're up for a coffee or a chat virtually. And I've learned some really amazing things from some really interesting people over the last year. So don't be afraid to do that. There's always an opportunity to learn something from someone you don't even know if you're feeling up for it. So yeah.
Marnie, introvert, extrovert?
I technically fall right on the line for introverted extrovert and in the evaluations that I've done. But I live my life as an introvert. I run around away from the mic. I run away from the stage. Ask me to get up on a stage with a mic and talk to 24 people. that's fairly uncomfortable for me. Ask me to chair a meeting for 24 people I've never seen before. I'm cool with that. So it's all about perspective. And networking for me is probably one of the more difficult things that I do. And so I have a couple of tips and tricks that I have acquired over the years. One of them is trying to be a really good date, which means if I'm going to go to an event, a networking event, I'm probably going to see if Lisa, Sarah, or Liz want to meet me there.
That's why you keep asking us.
Ah, we figured it out.
Now I know. I thought it was just charming. I thought it was because I had a radar for the cheese table, actually.
Yeah.
And the other tip that I learned a couple of years ago was actually going in with a plan. So if I know that I'm there to meet a couple of particular people, for me, it works better if it's about some shared purpose that we have. I will go in looking for a person looking to have a particular conversation and try and do that as unawkwardly as possible. But it does give me a reason. One thing that it does is it gives me a reason to go.
Yeah.
So that I have to, put the blazer on, put on the shoes and walk out the door. If I have a purpose to go. Otherwise, I'll be like, oh, well, Liz, Sarah, and Lisa couldn't go to this one, so maybe I'll skip it too.
So professional of you putting on the blazer.
And it is indeed all about the shoes.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
agree.
and I did. One of the things that Liz mentioned, I've been doing as well, is people reach out to me on LinkedIn that I only know a little bit. That's a train going by. Hopefully, that's not getting picked up too badly. I will, when people reach out to connect on LinkedIn, I'll often respond and say, pre-pandemic, do you want to meet up for coffee? Or post-pandemic, or during the pandemic, it's been, do you want to have a chat over Zoom or have a phone call? A lot of those LinkedIn connections are people that you've seen once or twice and don't really know. And that's an opportunity to find out a little bit more.
And so both Liz, Barney, you got into my next question.
Sorry.
Which was, why are you apologizing? You wouldn't apologize if there wasn't a room full of people watching us. So fingers crossed, we all get to meet up in person soon. But until then, how do you think people can network in this pandemic virtual world? So, Liz, Marnie, if you want to give us some of those, recap some of those top tips that you just had that you guys have been doing.
So my mentee moved here mid-pandemic, and God love her, has had a hell of a time getting to know people in a new city. And one of the things I've tried to do is connect her to other individuals in her age group and demographic virtually. But I will say this, I don't think there's gonna ever be a full replacement for meeting people in person and getting to know them. So I really do look forward to a time when we can have that, even if it is smaller groups. I don't know if people are gonna, probably some people will, but and this isn't a jab at the chamber, but it's like the chamber events where there's 800 people in a room and it's just total everyone going in different directions. I don't miss that personally, but what I do miss is our AFP events where maybe there's 25, 30 people, opportunity to really connect and network. And so those smaller, more intimate events, I look forward to those. I don't know if I'll ever really, I'm never sitting around missing gala events, but I may not have been in the first place. So it may just be, I don't know, Marnie, what about you?
Yeah, going back to what we were both talking about, finding those ways to meet up with one or two people virtually right now or by phone is working really well. And, hopefully given where we are right now, restrictions will be loosening and we'll be able to have those smaller gatherings of, I can't remember what the phases are right now, but let's say 10.
10 on a patio, 10 on max of 10. Yeah.
So I'm good with 10 on a patio as long as it's over 18 or 19 degrees.
You're very specific about your networking requirements.
I'm not sitting outside in a winter coat to network.
Lisa, have you have any tips from this past year?
I think it is making time. So one of the things that I find has happened during the pandemic is you have to be a lot more deliberate with your time because everything is by Zoom, meaning that there's no windshield time anymore. There's no walking from meeting to meeting. So you have to be a lot more deliberate with your time. So when that opportunity does come up to connect with someone, you got to take it. And I would say post-pandemic, that's going to be an even bigger thing, because how do we go from Zoom to phone to Zoom to phone to Zoom to Zoom to
Yeah.
having those face-to-faces? I do miss, I got to tell you, I never thought I'd say this in my life, but I do miss those big gatherings.
Do
And I
you?
miss,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. And I used to always find that you'd see, it's kind of the culmination of different parts of your career sometimes. And I don't miss the security at the airport, but it is, it's that sort of thing that I think you become interested because you see such a wide array of people. But I think that deliberateness, something that I've really noticed is that deliberateness of networking during pandemic times.
I think too, to go, Lisa, with what you're saying, is not only as a person who's receiving the invitation to network or putting out the invitation to network, you know, be honest with the person who's reaching out to you. I don't necessarily have time to mentor right now or sponsor or my network, you know, this or that. Just being honest. If there's ever been a time that we can be honest in our workplace, as you know, you three know, there's either animals on our calls or babies, kids, husbands, partners. So, you know, we've all gotten a little bit more comfortable with that, you know, about the professionalism. So just be open and honest that I don't have time, or, hey, can I connect you actually with Liz or Marnie or Lisa, and asking them, you know, I've done that. I've said, you know, I've asked Liz, can I connect you with this person? I just can't right now. So just make sure that you're honest with them about your time. So one of the things though was,
Sarah, the other thing I've been really amazed by, and I haven't done it, but I've watched you do it, is how the pandemic has shifted your opportunities and the expanse, and Liz as well, I think, has done this, the expanse of your network in terms of its geography and how it's grown. And I'm really excited to see how that's going to play out going forward. You know, Liz, you're presenting at a conference in, or Italy? Did present in Italy
in July.
Virtually.
And I can't wait to do this with my hands the whole time. I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Sarah, you've interviewed some really amazing people who probably will never make their way to Halifax.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny that you say that, Marnie, because I always, like, maybe Liz and Sarah did expand their network. I just always thought that they had these clusters of people literally all over the globe. And I was like, geez, how do they know these people? But maybe they did just meet them during the pandemic.
I would actually say for AFP in particular, since we're at an AFP conference, one of the really brilliant things is with this new touch point with technology and Zoom. So we can have the chair of AFP Global come speak in Halifax virtually. We can have, you know, someone from California come and talk in Halifax or the Maritimes virtually. We can, and it's so much more cost effective. I know it's not the same, but the accessibility factor is huge. And I think that that's exciting for me that, we need to remember to keep incorporating access and equity in everything that we do as an association, both locally and at a chapter level. You know, when I think of accessibility, these virtual forums give people an opportunity to attend a conference that may not have been physically able to based on the actual space that was provided previously. So there's a lot we need to work on. There's a lot we need to keep top of mind, but I am looking forward to a future where ideally these aren't excuses anymore that we cannot provide these services. We could not afford them. They need to always be top of mind, and I think we're getting better at it, but we need to keep working on it.
So rapid fire, looking at the time that I have here. So when we thought about, we talked about an accountability team, talked about how we keep each other accountable. The other thing that I think we touched on too is being open and honest. You know, you three have known that I am the type to do this from the beginning and stuck with me. So who should be on your accountability team? So I'm going to give one of you something from the list, and I want you really quickly, if possible, to expand on what that would mean. So Marnie, we said that you should have a researcher on your accountability team.
Okay, to me, that's someone who's really well connected, who has the inside scoop on what in your sector or the sector you're trying to break into, and is willing to give you advice and tell you who you need to be talking to and connecting to.
Okay, Lisa, we said that you should have idea generators.
So do you want a specific person, Sarah, or do you want the type of person?
The type of person. I mean, if you know somebody, but somebody you can connect with.
They'll be inundated after though.
Yeah.
Be careful. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna pick Morgan Freeman every time. When I think of having what was mine, Sarah? The
Idea generator.
The idea generator. That's somebody that can ask me the questions that makes me think outside of my box. You can't get inside from the inside. But I had somebody the other day ask me about when I decided to follow this path in this career path. And it was that sort of question really made me think. And what challenged you to make you choose this path versus continuing on where you were? So that person really made me think differently about how I got to where I am and where I'm going next. So somebody that can just shift the gear and have it jump a cog so I can think differently than my day-to-day plan.
Okay, and Liz, confidants.
Oh my gosh. I can't think of anything more important, to be honest with you. I'm very fortunate that I have those in spades. For anyone that's known my story, you three have been my greatest confidants and supporters through a lot of what I've been through. I'm also fortunate to have a lot of colleagues in my current place of employment that I really trust. But those safe spaces to be able to bounce things that you need to talk about and know that they're not going anywhere. Not because, there's some dirty little secret that you're keeping, but just sometimes the work can be hard and emotional and you need to have those safe places. So I'm always grateful for those people. That takes time though. I think confidence takes time. It takes time to build that level of trust and find those people. So when you do have them, hold on to them and treat them with the love and respect they deserve, because it's a special thing to have those people in your life for sure. And that can be your family too. It doesn't have to be professional, but I think it's so important to have those safe places to share your biggest concerns, fears, hopes, all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
What about you?
All right. So questioners would be the one that we have, and I have that in spades with the three of you. I know that when I put something out there, I put it out there because I know you're going to ask me questions back that I can dig down deeper. And so the times that I don't feel confident, I know that your questions will have me answer so that I realize, I do have the confidence in that. So there's some of your accountability team. There's our time.
There's our accountability clock.
So our contact information is available, and that means that we've started you off with a network. Now the work is left to you. How will you empower yourself and then empower others in your network? What is the first goal that comes to mind for you? Write it down. Nobody knows if you're scratching it on a Post-it note right now or on the back of a napkin. Write it down. Reach out to a fellow fundraiser or a contact. You can do that in the chat. Introduce yourself, build your network, head over to LinkedIn, start looking up people and requesting to meet. One of the things that we haven't said here today is fake it until you make it. And that's because this room, this virtual room, does not need to fake it. But every now and again, we all need to be pumped up. We call it our walk-on song. We all have one. Lisa?
Mine, a little bit of Lizzo, Good as Hell.
Liz?
I had one, but I'm not allowed to say it. So I'm picking Lady Gaga, Born This Way.
Marnie?
I gotta stay close to home, CanCon, and go with Jill Barber's Girls Gotta Do.
I'm going to say the girl that we all should have known that we needed to stick behind, and that is Circus by Britney. We have created a Spotify playlist that we want you to add your walk-on song to. You don't need to have a paid Spotify account to do this. We're going to put the link in the chat right now. Chances are it's me. Sarah put the link in the chat. Now, if there is a day you aren't feeling your fantastic self, you can put on this playlist and dance, sing blow off that self-doubt, knowing that there are others doing the exact same thing to that playlist, that there is a network out there adding their own songs so that you know that all of us are behind you and knows that you aren't a fake. From networks to goals to pumping each other up virtually, we have a responsibility to ourselves, and we have a responsibility to other women to raise each other up. What a great power to hold. What a better group to have it. Thank you, everyone.